Over the past week, did you drive a car, carry groceries, text someone? All of these tasks may seem mundane or even trivial. Now imagine yourself doing all of these tasks with only one arm. How would that change your approach, your perspective? Hi, my name is Blake, and my left hand is missing from the elbow down. I was born like this, so it is a complete normality for me. Despite this, I have done things most kids my age have not. For example, I'm a secondary black belt in karate, have gone backpacking 230 miles over 31 days, have gone canoeing 300 kilometers in the Northwest Territories while it was snowing, and love to ski as much of Whistler Blackcomb as I possibly can. One of the most challenging parts of having one arm are the questions that people ask and the comments that they make. For example, we had a few kids presenting in our class about nuclear energy, how it works, as well as the pros and cons. As one of the cons, they mentioned its association with birth defects. One of the kids in my class was commenting on this and used me as an example. Keep in mind they meant no offense by this, but this didn't really feel like it was the right topic for my condition. I'm not sure if it was the fact that my arm is in no way birth defect, or I just don't like the sound of birth defect. But this was one point where I felt discriminated upon because of my arm. Has anyone heard of the movie Wonder? The main character, Augie, went through many surgeries, and his face takes the hit. In the beginning, there is a scene where the antagonist, Julian, asks Augie, the classic, what happened. One of the other characters present then calls out to Augie, or out to Julian, explaining how mean he was being because of his curious questioning. When I first watched this, I was itching in my seat. One thing that really bothers me is when things like this happen, and people think others are being rude just by asking questions and being curious. This bothers me due to the fact that I understand people's curiosity that I have one arm, because for pretty much everyone, this is a new sight. When I was in kindergarten, I remember going to sleep one night and thinking, who is that kid in my class with one arm? Oh wait, it's me. At this point, I'd not really accepted the fact that I could do anything despite my one arm. One of the main reasons that I now understand this is because of one person, my grandfather, and the hike we did together. The hike is titled the John Muir Trail. It consists of 230 miles, 47,000 gross vertical feet of incline, and for my grandfather, his friend, and me, it took us 31 days. The trip for me personally started with invitation. It was my grandfather's idea, and he reached out to me, skeptically, as any grandfather would be, asking their 11-year-old grandson to hike 230 miles with him. The idea was put to sleep until the spring break of 2016 before we went on the hike. We went to Switzerland to go skiing. And my grandfather was amazed with my endurance, I guess. He didn't really say. After this trip, he reached out to me and asked if I'd like to come along for the hike. I immediately expressed interest and said yes. This question that my grandfather asked me was a turning point in this journey with one hand for me. After this hike, I didn't really feel like having one arm was holding me back in any way. It created a ripple effect that is still with me today. With this, I don't go into things thinking about the fact that I have one arm. I just completely ignore it as it is now completely normal. But one of the most asked questions I get are about the obstacles and challenges that I had to overcome. One of the bigger obstacles was skiing. I had to figure out how to ditch a pole and alter away from the way most people ski, so I was able to do most things despite my one pole. As for most things, I found a way to make it work. The hardest part of this was figuring out how to maintain control, mainly while I was in the steeps. Another thing that surprised me and made it difficult was coaching, mainly for sports as well as refereeing for these sports. Because most aren't accustomed to those with disabilities, they tend to cater their teaching style towards those who are more normal. Because of this, people have to learn a whole new style of how they should teach in order to cater specifically to me. In the spring, I did a karate tournament that was open to all of Canada. In this tournament, there was a small section dedicated to those with disabilities. In this section, there was me and one other person. Before the event started, they had a small teaching session for the referees, deciding on how they were going to mark us. Because we had different disabilities, they did determine a mutual marking system and what to look for. This is the hardest part of anyone who helps me's job, helping me work from and understand what I've been born with. Despite this, so many people in my life have helped me do this, such as my karate instructor, family, skiing instructors, and so many more. Now that my time with you all is drawing to a close, there are a few small takeaways that may just prove useful. The first thing you might want to keep in the back of your head is that curiosity is okay. It's understandable, and I'm sure most people would be happy to answer. That being said, approach your questioning with caution, as everyone you meet has different comfort zones. Also remember that you are just as different as you are alike. You may have one hand, but that doesn't mean you can't connect or talk to those who have two. Who here has gone skiing before? Boom! We already have something to talk about. Going forward, try and keep these two things stored away. And going back to the title slide, if appearances don't define us, what does? Thank you.